Hello there. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the program Total Woman here on AD4 TV Radio. Today we'll be discussing the socio-economic challenges women face in Nigeria. Women are key contributors to the development of any country. However, the issue of women exclusion from decision-making processes have continued to generate concerns worldwide. Though men and women are biologically and psychologically different, they both attain the same educational qualification, socio-economic status, and occupation, amongst others. Yet, women are unequally represented in some aspects of public life. According to the 2006 Nigerian population census figure, women constitute 49% of the total population, but there is a huge gender gap between men and women, especially in political representation, economic management, and leadership. So with us in the studio today is Okama Ekpe-Brooke, an international development expert, an activist, entrepreneur, and author, a member of the Caribbean Studies Association, and an education agent at the University of Commonwealth, Caribbean, Jamaica. Thank you, Okama, for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Ute.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you became an international development expert despite the challenges women face in those fields.
Yes, it has indeed been, quite a journey, and it's wonderful to be able to share some of these stories. I'm one who believes that, every day provides an opportunity for us to maximize our development processes. And so what I have gone through, I share it, and I share it through different ways. I really started off, my part of my growth, I will give evidence to, the way that I was raised. I'm the first daughter of, the family from Ikori in Cross River State. And as the first daughter, I was sent off to actually live with my aunt who was in the city in Calabar, because my dad recognized from an early stage that he wanted me to get an education and to be able to have the opportunity to do that. And by the way, my dad was a chief, so he had to relocate us from Lagos to our community so that he could take on his job as the chief. But he still wanted, his kids to have education. So I was shipped off, and I lived with my aunt, Professor Eka Ikpe-Braid. And growing up with Professor Eka Ikpe-Braid, and I like to give, thanks to her, because she's a powerful woman, and I know the struggles that she went through as a lecturer, a dean of the Faculty of Microbiology at UNICAL, and then becoming the vice chancellor of Polytechnic, and then eventually, the VC at Nasarawa State University. She's had to, endure so many challenges as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, and eventually she started her own non-governmental organization, which exposed me early on to the issues that were being faced by young girls and young women. So her foundation was looking at women in Nigeria, empowering young girls to become, players in the nation building of our country, while she was also pursuing, her professional academic work. So, that gave me the opportunity to really see issues from different perspectives. And I believe I made up my mind then that if I was given a chance, I would use it to the best of my knowledge. And once I got that opportunity, it was up to me then to try and transfer it to others so that, we grow together. I am pulling people along with me. So that's really how the journey, started for me.
So was that what is inspire your wanting to? You're going ahead to establish the African Caribbean Heritage Alliance.
Well, the African Caribbean Heritage Alliance, came much later. My international development experience started when, with my husband, I met my husband here in Nigeria, and we moved very early on to Canada. And while we were in Canada, both of us working, we decided collectively that the work we were engaged was not the kind of work that we really wanted to be involved in. So we took a decision, both of us, to start international development work. And that is what took us from Canada to Thailand, where I was working with a local NGO, which was looking at bringing women into the organic agriculture field. So here, agriculture being the base of livelihood, sustainability, women in Thailand at the time were already playing a key role in the reversion of the Green Revolution, because Thailand had experienced the destruction of the environment, degrading of their health and also livelihoods as a result of use of herbicides and pesticides in their production. And this was really affecting them. And so a decision was taken to look at how to reverse that by going into alternative agriculture practices. And so organic agriculture was what they chose. But the interesting thing is, in Thailand, the land is owned by women.
Whoa.
So land is actually transferred to women, female ownership. And so in the process of deciding to take on organic agriculture, the conversation had to be had with both parties,
yes.
and with women being brought into the discourse so that they would also agree to the conversion of land, so that they know that the livelihood of their family is sustained while they're still converting to organic agriculture. So my work with the NGO was looking at the role of women in alternative agriculture, and how to ensure that whatever practices were put in place would not negatively affect the women that were involved in it. And so we actually got to the point where we were able to have an agreement with the International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movement, which assured the purchase of the produce. So, the conversation was, if you convert so much land, you don't have to worry about you losing, your production, because it takes time to maximize the use of the land. Whatever you produce, we would buy it at a higher premium. So you are assured that you always have something. And the members of the IFOM community allowed the women to be confident enough to join the organic agriculture movement. So that's where, for me, the whole, looking at the role of women in agriculture, the role of women in economic development, empowerment of women, and ensuring that women's voices were factored into the development process really started. And I saw the evidence right away. So I was so excited, to share some of those practices with our own country. But of course, we have different dynamics here. So from Thailand, we moved to Lao PDR, still in the development field, working with Canadian International NGO, and that's where I started to come in contact with the United Nations Development Program, and did research for UNDP in Laos. And from Laos, I was given the opportunity to move again in Asia to Sri Lanka, where I managed the UN volunteer program. So did that in a very conflict-ridden environment with the ceasefire agreement. And then during the ceasefire agreement, we also had the tsunami, the Asian tsunami crisis. But it was all looking at, how can we make an impact from me sharing, but also learning and growing in the process. And that is where I started to experience, wow, you're an African, you're from Nigeria. What is Nigeria?
Wow. So we had to get Acha
Yes.
on board.
Yes.
And I guess you had to use fashion as a means. Tell me about that.
You know, Nigerians, we have this thing about us. Wherever we go, people are just fascinated by, you know, who we are, what we look like, and what we eat. So everybody, you know, that sees me, they want to hear my story. Why is your skin like this? You know, why is your hair like that? Why are you wearing this? Where is it from? Wow, you're from Africa. So it actually got to the point where I was just, say, intrigued that in the age of the 21st century, with so much information out in the internet, people did not know much about Africa, because some of the things they were asking me seemed like they were completely new to them. So I then started to, sometimes I would get upset, like, why are you asking me these kinds of questions? What kinds of schools do you have in your country?
Yes.
Do you guys have roads? Do you live on trees? You know, how come you look healthy when all the images we see on TV are
Or looking
about
like starved, you know, hungry
starving,
people.
sick
Yes.
people? And at first I was like, you know, why? What's going on? And then it actually dawned on me that we could use that as a channel to raise awareness about who we are as a people. You know, what inspires our culture and development. And that is really where the idea of, you know, ACHA started coming out. We formed what we call then the Africa-Sri Lanka Friendship Association, which gave us a chance on an annual basis to have cultural programs. We work together with the embassies to bring troops and, you know, models, and have different events to showcase our vibrant culture. And from there, when I moved to the Caribbean, the whole notion of starting the Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance came up.
And I must say you've been doing quite well. Uniquely, I would say, because attending one of the fairs, I understood how you groom those from the community and take them to an international standard. We'll be talking about how women in Nigeria can begin to develop themselves when it comes to socio-economic. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back. When we come back, we will be looking at the socio-economic empowerment of the Nigerian woman. Please don't go away.
I can be all I ever dream of, oh yeah. I am a total woman, yeah. I am a total woman, oh. I am a total woman.
All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Total Woman on 84 TV Radio, and we've been looking at the socio-economic challenges women face in our country, Nigeria. My guest, Okamma Ekwebrok, an international development expert, has been sharing her journey with us. And let's look at you promoting African culture and tradition through fashion, through every means you've been using. Just like every other African woman, how much support have you been getting, let me say, from government or other agencies, you know, to help you in this journey?
Thank you very much. In fact, you know, the startup of the Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance was really to positively reconnect Africans and people of African descent, Afro descendants. Because in my travel around the world, I've come in contact with people who were taken from the continent to other continents because during the transatlantic slave trade. And many of them, you know, find themselves in new places, but they feel very strongly about their African heritage, about their African culture. So some have actually done testing and traced their origins back to different African countries. So the startup of the Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance is to positively reconnect them with what is happening in the continent. For those that want to come back and engage, they can come in on cultural tourism. They can come in, on pilgrimage. They can, come in as business people. So our job is to match them with businesses and business people, partners within the continent. And also investments. And investments, if you look at in the fashion industry, it's such a huge opportunity there. If you look in the sports, the wide array of creative industries
Arts.
is the arts. The artifacts made by our people, the clothes, even the talent, singers and dancers. Those are things that are so important in building the socio-economic power of our people, and yet we don't do it often enough.
Yeah.
And so that is where Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance has been playing a critical role in really bringing that to the forefront. And so we haven't really had that much engagement in the continent because we only registered in 2018. But since we've been registered, thankfully we had the support of the Voice in Nigeria, which is an initiative that is funded through Oxfam. Oxfam is an international NGO, and Voice gets its funding from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. And so they looked at what we're doing and said, we want to empower you to bring the voices of the voiceless in this platform to the fore. So we got a grant, and that is what we've been implementing since last year. I'm hoping that government can see what we're doing. I'm hoping that different local organizations can see what we're doing, the private sector, and come in so that we can, together empower those that are already being uplifted. It doesn't take that much.
Listening to your story of how the Thailand government or the people have been able to empower the women, bringing them into the discussion, making them to understand that they have the power of the economy in their hands and the decisions they make.
Yes.
But coming down home, what are these challenges that we are facing as women when it comes to socio-economic issues?
Exactly. Mute, I think, one of the things that in fact pushed me in this direction and really focusing the target group of ACHA's initial work on women and youth. Women and youth, because I believe that one of the key challenges we have in the country is unemployment. If we look at the level of unemployment in the country for youth and then breaking it down to women, you'll be so sad. And for me, having played a development role in other places, and I look at my own country, it saddens me to think that it should not take much for women and girls to be supported in what they're doing. And one of those, so unemployment is one of the socio-economic challenges we're facing in the country. We are also having an issue with a male-dominated society. Like the example I gave of Thailand, and having lived in Canada as well, I see opportunities being provided for girls across the board, whether it's in the creative industries, whether it's in sports, whether it's in formal employment. From an early age, young girls are encouraged to make use of the opportunities that are available. But I come down to my own country and I see that it's not the same. It's not the same, and I feel because our society has been dominated so much by male influence, decision making. You make a decision for a woman when you don't actually know what the woman has been going through and needs to be able to perform well in that field. We interact in the space here through arts, sports, entertainment, and culture. And we find that in sports, when we bring young people and girls to play, sometimes the facilities are not adequate. So there's lack of access to proper facilities, infrastructure that allow the girls to be able to participate at the same level. You can bring them together. You can say, we have girls teams and boys teams, let them play. But if you don't take the time to look at, Are there toilets? Are there, bathrooms there? Is the girl having menstruation and therefore she needs, hygienic environment to be able to still play? Those are some of the things that are hindering us. And then poor access to credit. We are working with women and girls, youth, who are producing artifacts at the community level. We go to them at the community level. We provide the training for them. And then we provide them the branding and access to market. A lot of the women do not have access to credit to enable them to, continue to produce at a level that they can sustain what they're already doing. And then, of course, illiteracy. So besides just women, working with women, we look at indigenous women, indigenous youth, and how to support them. Some of them have been to school, but they don't know how to properly read and write. So if you are looking in this day of technology and use of online
they are
marketing,
really at disadvantage.
using gadgets, they are so disadvantaged.
You mentioned something about access to funds. How can women learn more about getting access to finance to support what they're doing?
I think we need to train them. Even if one does not have formal education, there can still be opportunities for skills acquisition. And in skills acquisition, you look at what one's interest is. You do a needs assessment and then bring in the coaches and mentors who will be able to train them and then organize them into the, whether it's an association or a cooperative that will enable them to access the credit. And then maybe some of the credit regulations would have to be, let's say, lowered a little bit to give them an even playing field. Because you can't have somebody who has never really learned how to walk properly to now start running in order to catch up.
Exactly.
So we need to, I think this is where government needs to come in more strongly and really provide rules and regulations, policies that will be able to give women a chance at accessing credit.
All right. A final question I would ask, and this is directed to women ourselves. Okay? What do you think we can do to handle the challenges that are being faced from all around? Women ourselves, how do we get ourselves to that position where, just like you're able to develop something to a point that you got outside funding? Okay, so women, what word do you have for us? How do we develop ourselves to that point where we can also stand on our own?
I think women, we just have to keep doing what we know how to do best. We are nurturers. We coach, we mentor. If you can raise a home, you can raise a foundation to the level, or whether it's charitable or a business, to the level that you can achieve the vision. So I started off with ACHA with my own funding. I mean, I have 3 children, so I should be saving for my children's education. But I recognized much earlier on that for me to be able to effectively, efficiently share what I have with the people that I feel needed, I had to invest in it personally. And it's not only financial, I invest my time, I invest my energy. A lot of people see what I do and they think, wow,
No, there's
just
a lot
incredible.
of work.
There's a lot of work that goes on.
Into
So for us as women, we need to first recognize that to become a leader and to pass on those leadership skills to other women, we have to be willing to give up certain comforts. And one of those is finance. You have to invest in it. So you plan and you put a certain amount of your savings towards starting the NGO. And then I also invest on myself to develop my capacity so I know how to raise funds. I've been to proposal writing workshops. I've been to networking events that sometimes I don't feel like, but I know I have to go because I'm going to meet Mute. And from Mute, I can, access other well-positioned people that will help pull me up. Because I have a vision, I have a dream, and that dream is to pass on and pull up a leader. So we have to do that.
Thank you so much, Okama, for being my guest. It's been an amazing journey for you and for every other African woman. But where we can get it right is when we put our vision in front of us, make the sacrifice in terms of finance, time, personal development, with our goals behind our minds. And I'm sure that we'll be able to raise ourselves and help other women come up from these challenges that we're facing, especially when it comes to socio-economic issues. Thank you once again for being my guest.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
All right, that is all for Total Woman on AD4 TV Radio today. Join me again next week and remain blessed. Bye-bye.